What's up, guys? Today we're going to go over mixing our punches with our walking. That way we know how to time and move everything in a fight. I'm not going to have much of an introduction. We're just going to get straight into it this morning. Alright, so if I'm in orthodox stance, it's going to be my left foot forward, my right foot in the back. My hands are going to be up with my elbows in. Look something like this. If I'm wanting to move forward and punch, the very first step we're going to go over today is going to be like the most common way to learn this. And my punch extension should be fully extended when my foot is touching the ground on its step. For example, as compared to, if that makes sense. So if there was something I was hitting, I would want the sound of that hitting or a slap to occur at the same time the slap of my foot hitting the mat is occurring. All right, so if I'm actually walking, moving like in a fight with this, it's going to be I'm just bringing my back foot forward to close the distance to keep the correct range and balance on my feet. So starting out for a drill that we would want to do on our own, we would really want to start our warm-up with just our walking, like we'd gone over in the first video where we're just going forward and backwards. And then we would want to add in our jab, which is the punch I just demonstrated. So in orthodox, the drill would look like this. Then you're going to go backwards. And it's going to be the same idea, except it's when your foot hits on the coming back part. It stays with the same foot. The punch always stays with the foot that's underneath it. You want to work that in your orthodox stance and then also in your southpaw, which would be with your right foot forward. It's the same exact concept. Going backwards would then be Alright, it's going to take a little while to get that timing right. Repetition is always our friend in figuring anything out in fighting. This video is kind of going to go quick. I hadn't made a video in a while, so I'm going to cover a couple steps at once. Once we have the jab down with our steps, we can add in the cross. And every punch is timed in to when our foot is slapping on this side of the drill. And when I say this side of the drill, that'll make sense later on. But you don't have to always do a jab or a cross. You can do hooks and uppercuts, and there's an overhand. I'm just choosing for demonstration to do the ones and the twos, the jabs and the crosses. But as you're more comfortable, you can throw in whatever punches you want on this. But the timing to where the punch should land on your opponent should always be the same as your foot touching the mat. That way you can put your weight on it if you choose to do so and make it powerful. All right, so adding the cross, just like how we just went over with the jab, I'm stepping with the jab, except now when I bring this back foot forward, I'm throwing the cross and it's going to be fully extended when this back foot then touches the mat. So now, early on, what's probably going to happen is you're going to go, that wasn't a great example. This is hard. I had to break the habit, so let me try to do this. And you'll leave an arm out. So really what we're doing, we got a couple different steps going on. We're throwing our jab and we're timing it with our weight. Simultaneously, we're going to lift this foot up and bring our jab hand back to our body for defense and for reload, then we're thinking about throwing the cross when this foot touches down. So in slow motion, now that was bad demonstration. I didn't keep my weight right. It's hard to kind of do the speed when I'm doing it slow. It's hard to slow it down, but if that makes sense, that's how you want to work, how you want to think about it. So going live though with the drill would just be you can even see where on the second time I did that, I kind of had to really tell myself, pull my cross back. So there's habits to break on this. Like there's so many steps to it in our head, it can be confusing at first because we're also retracting the previous strike while we're moving the opposite foot forward. But this is great for building volume striking and for just shoulder strength and for balance. It's great for every part of striking and fighting. So a couple more times, I'm gonna go forward. And it's good to reset on this one after each, I wanna call it like a double step because we're front foot and then our back foot and then kind of reset. Because even still to this day, I'm getting caught where I'm leaving my cross out and I haven't retracted and I'm starting to take my jab. And going backwards is the same thing, except it would be starting with the cross because our back foot is the first one taking the step. So this is probably a good stopping point for this drill. In my next video, which will probably wait a week or two before I do, it's going to add what I call the other side of this, and it's sort of just the opposite, and it has to do with the weight and the balance. And just like how this, early on when we first learned how to throw our strikes properly when we're moving, it's like this is a certain speed of striking. I would say that's like 20 strikes a minute or something. And this is we're getting into kind of my philosophy when I look at fighting. But then when we add the cross, we make it like 40 strikes per minute. There's ways that we can make it even more than that that I've kind of been playing with and I like, and we'll get into that in the next video. But this is a great drill to start out with. So if someone wanted to do this at home or on their own, or if you're someone that trains under me, you've probably seen how we do this. I would like get on my mats, or if you just had a driveway or a clear space at home, and start with just taking your steps, which would be in each stance. Do that forward and back like 3 times, and then add just your jab into it. So and do it forward and back in each stance. So if you switch to southpaw, you do that each 3 times. Then try to add your cross into your orthodox stance. Then if you feel comfortable with it, if you feel like you get it to where you're on the pattern with the orthodox, go ahead and add it into your southpaw stance. If you do that each 3 times in a decent amount of space, I mean, you've got a quick little 10-minute workout in. The pace of the workout and the pace at which you go is going to determine how much you sweat or how much energy you burn. So you can make this really intense. Instead of doing it as a count down and back, if you had a timer, you could do it as a duration, and you could be like, I'm going to do this as intense as I can for a minute at a time with a 30-second break. And that's a really, really great workout, especially for beginners. Just make sure you have your technique down. But that's where I'm going to wrap it up today. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a message, like and subscribe. This is the War Lab. You know how we do it.